what kind of factors could impact trade flows. First, technology. We can use technology to describe anything that affected our comparative advantage. So, if I used to have a production process that required lots of labor, for example, maybe in sewing a garment, but then technological change means that less labor is required, that could change comparative advantage. One of the reasons why China was thought to have a comparative advantage in textiles production was because it had been very labor intensive and China was abundant in labor. That will change as the technology changes. If you get to more sophisticated ways of producing garments with machines that can substitute for people, you'll put less of a premium on labor abundance. A second factor that can affect trade flows is policy. If we slap 25% tariffs on the import of certain goods, it's very likely that those goods will look much less competitive or uncompetitive in the importing country. Tariffs have been a big subject of discussion on the policy front. They're not the only policy that comes into play here. Another common policy is quotas, where a country will only allow a certain quantity of a good to come in. That tends to have the effect of raising the price. When you limit the supply, the price goes up. So it can be very much like a tariff. Then you get some policies that are substantially more intricate, such as anti dumping, which is ostensibly a response to countries selling at less than fair value, or countervailing duty programs, which are means of retaliation against what are judged to be unfair subsidies. Each of those in the end is threatening tariffs, but they can have subtler effects because sometimes they can restrain trade even if no tariffs are actually applied just because of the threat of tariffs.